This video can change everything because it contains the key secret that nobody talks about, nobody sees, about how the top players can keep playing solos, keep improvising, and they seem relaxed and fluent when they do so. This is it, so please stick with me. So what it really is about is that, are you developing like mold on an apple? Are you developing like a rotting fruit, right? Or are you developing like a tree? You know, we got the analogy down there, right? Because we don't want to develop like something that's decomposing, right? We want to develop that something that's growing out of the ground, becoming beautiful and big. And there's two distinct ways of growing here. And we, 95%, maybe 99% of all guitar practitioners are developing like mold, like a decomposing apple or fruit. And what we need to do, and what the brain naturally actually does without our help, if we let it, is it grows like a tree. So you need to stop growing like mold. So what is that? Well, it's basically, if you look at an apple, right, you see these little dots everywhere. Like there's a little bit of mold there, and then, there's some mold there. It's not like a tree that branches out. A tree builds from one cell to another, and then it kind of has that middle section of the tree. I don't know the word right now. And then it branches out. It's got little branches, and the branches are basically like the trunk of the tree, right? It's like the trunk of the tree. So if you look at the tree like a full tree, you'll see that trunk, and then you'll see branches coming out. But if you take the branch of the tree and you look at it like that, it looks like a tree. It's like we have a new tree trunk here. Suddenly when it's alone, it's like one middle thing, and then we got little branches on that, right? If you take off the little branches and we look at that, well, we got a new tree trunk right there, right? A little bit of branches. If you look at the leaves, what is that? Well, you look at a middle thing going up, right? The trunk of the leaf, and then it has little branches going out. What is this, right? What is that? That's growth. And that's the only way that growth really happens on a serious level. And we don't do that when we practice. We don't do that. We don't. Because we have a brain that is divided here. Because, what we really should do, instead of growing like mold, so let's just discuss that. What is that? That's a spotty thing that happens here, then there, right? That's decomposing. And that's the way 99% of all guitar players grow. Or not grow, right? Stay intermediate. And what that is something here and something there. A little lick here, a little sequence here, a little bit of something here, and then something there. And it's just decomposing, right? It never gets the momentum of a tree that builds on itself with itself. So it becomes itself, right? The tree becomes the branches becomes the branches on the branches, and then finally the leaves, which are built in the exact same way, from inside out. So when we develop on a guitar like this, and every top player did this, every single top player did this. So what is it? It's pretty simple, right? You build on something, and then you expand on something. Like it's the tree trunk and the branches, they come out of the tree. You take something, let's say, this is the most successful part of practicing that I bumped into by accident, that I really start saying, okay, I can't play solos. What's the matter here? And then I started just focusing on 4 notes, not just as an improvisational exercise, but I was actually learning little licks that I could play, right? So I could play this, right? Cool thing, Klaus, right? But then you take something like that. First of all, you become very good at it. And I'm going to tell you how you can do this with every part of guitar playing, right? Okay, cool, then you got that. Then you practice the rhythm. Right? And then I was really grinding that. I wanted to play it so it sounded really professional. And then as I reached that goal pretty quickly, because it's only 2 notes, then I started going. Then I was adding to it, so now I could go. And all the little, everything, right? The little muted strokes, everything. I wanted to have that in, and I kept looping it over and over again. And pretty soon I developed the ability to sound like a pro with those 4 notes. right? With the vibrato and the bending and the stopping the note and everything. See, suddenly I'm working with a lot of intricate details, right? Instead of saying, okay, I learned the lick, so, right? You didn't learn the lick, you just learned the superficial part of it, like the notes, right? But then you need to have to, right? Everything is upstroke, a little bit of pinch harmonic with every, it's palm muted a little bit, it's staccato, except, right? Except for the last note. I'm sliding up to the first, all of these little details, and we're talking about a very alive instrument that can be hard to control. So it takes a little bit of time, but instead of practicing like, yeah, now I can play something that sounds about the same, right? Then I stuck with it, and then I developed it. That's what you need to do with anything you practice. And if you did that from today, then your skill level would virtually explode. It really would. Like a tree. A tree doubles its amount of cells all the time when it grows, because one cell becomes 2. Then the next thing happens that these 2 cells becomes 4. Then these 4 cells become 8 and 16 and 32. So it really is an explosion. It's just very slow to us because the cells are so small, right? But that's how you can grow on a guitar. But nobody does it except for the people who just leap out of the intermediate zone. And if you listen to the top players, then you'll find that they are basically developing. You can hear it in what they play. You can hear it in what we call their playing style, right? Because they have a certain thing they do, or a certain group of things they did. If they knew everything and could play everything, they wouldn't have a playing style. What we hear is their preferred patterns, right, that they have on their fingers. In this course, I have taken, after 40 years of experience, the 1 or 2 exercises per technique, which is sweep picking, legato, alternate picking, economy picking, or directional picking, that will mean more to your development than any other single thing that you can do. So what they have done with that is develop those preferred patterns, and that is their playing style. And whether or not they did this consciously or not, my guess is that 99, again with the 99, most of them did it completely unconsciously, because when you lean back and let the brain work, it does this by itself. This is one of the things that it gets right, actually, instead of getting it wrong, since most things it comes up with as solutions to guitar problems are really ineffective. But this is why we trip ourselves up, because the brain has another need it's trying to fill, and that is to avoid boredom, right? It doesn't want to get bored, so we get slightly inspired by something, right? Then we practice that for a while, but pretty soon as we get near the top or near the middle of our skill level with that particular thing, then we get bored with it. And then we get inspired by something else. The boredom is basically opens up the possibility that you can get inspired by something new, right? So you practice a little of this, then you practice a little of that, and you practice a little of that, and that's mold, right? Just a little bit of here, a little bit of there, and gradually you shrink. I'm learning a lot of stuff. No, you're learning a lot of stuff, but you don't master any of it. And building on mastery, taking something extremely simple, and then grinding it, and then developing it from there, will simply, explode your skill level, because suddenly you're building on something then you add to it, then you add a little bit more to it, then you add a little bit more to it. If you had a whole year like that, of taking one thing, let's just say, something very simple in soloing, and just adding a little bit to it all the time, what happens is also that you're playing the same fundamental thing all the time. So you become better and better at the most fundamental core of your whole thing here, right? And then you add to it a little bit there, add to it a little bit there, and you keep stacking that. So that little lick becomes a whole soloing skill that you actually master, because you're building from the inside out. And there are 10,000 other guys playing guitar, practicing as much as you do, who practiced over the year, practiced this lick and this stuff and then this, right? And they never really got around to saying, I'm just gonna grow from the inside out, right? And, not by chance, but that is one of the huge or very important principles of power licks, right? Because we want to take something small, we want to combine it with something else that's small, and then we want to grow from the inside out and make sure that we add combinations of the same. So we get like, say, 4 little entities, and then we combine them, and that's a lot of combinations. 4 combined with itself gives you a huge amount of combinations. If you add one more element, one more little sequence or idea to it, and you combine those with all the others, which seems like a lot of work, but it's not. And I'm going to explain to you in one of these videos here why it's not a lot of work and how we can short circuit that completely with a little trick I have. But once you start combining these, that is a huge amount of skills in itself. And that's the skill level of top players. That's what they do all the time. They might not be conscious of it, but that's what their brain arrived at, right? Being able to achieve an extremely, a huge amount of variety on very little. That's the trick. Because we look out into the vast sea of guitar skills and stuff we could learn, and we just go, I can never learn all that. Of course you can't. But when you build from the inside out, you can make so much out of so little. It's quite incredible. But how can you right now, without making any investments, how can you convert this into action? What one thing are you really good at that you could start building on and expanding? Whether it be like a soloing skill or a finger picking skill, right? Could you add something to that? Whatever is your focus right now, right? Is it a funk rhythm like... Right? Is it something like that you're really good at because you've been playing it over and over? What if you developed that, right? What if you... Right? What if you just kept grinding that until you had that amazing top level, top player skill instead of going on to another like... Right? Another thing and another thing and another thing, which is what we do when we're not conscious, and we need to be conscious of this all the freaking time. What am I doing? Why am I doing exactly that? And am I developing like a tree, or am I rotting like a piece of fruit on its way out of this world? See you in the next video.